Hello friends, welcome to the course on Pedagogy of Mathematics. The course code is EDU220. I'm Dr. Junaki Ghosh, faculty at the Department of Elementary Education, Lady Shri Ram College for Women, where I teach courses in mathematics education. In this video session, I'll be talking to you about technology and mathematics education. Throughout the session, I'll be using PowerPoint slides. So I request you to bear with me while I prepare for the same. So the topic is technology and mathematics education. It is a very important topic in the course on pedagogy of mathematics. In this session, we'll be talking about the relevance of technology. Why do we need to use technology at all for mathematics education? We will focus on the different important learning theories and what they have to say about the relevance of technology in mathematics education. We'll further focus on the goals of mathematics education and the recommendations of the National Curriculum Framework 2005. This will be followed by a brief discussion on the different types of digital tools available for mathematics learning. And finally, we will focus on the role of technology in mathematics education. So why do we need to use technology? I mean, technology is constantly pushing the boundaries of knowledge in every field, and we are well aware of that. When we think about what exactly does learning mean? Well, perhaps learning means the freedom to explore, experiment, question, and visualize. And for all these modes of learning, technology can be a great enabler. Because technology is omnipresent and it is all around us, perhaps it needs to be an integral part of education in our society, and it has already become so. And there's always a debate about whether a particular technology is good or bad. I would like to say here that technology by itself is neither good or bad, but its impact is determined by how it is used. If we look at ICT, that is information and communications technologies, computers and computer hardware, handheld devices, mobile phones and apps, all we are surrounded by a plethora of different ICT tools, and all of these provide a wide range of possibilities for education. However, in this video session, I would like to focus on specific type of digital tools which are accessible for mathematics learning. Let us now see some of the very well-known learning theories. If we look at Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, it says learners should be provided with socially rich environments in which they can explore knowledge domains with their fellow students, peers, teachers, and outside experts. Technology can be used to support the learning environment by providing tools for discourse, discussion, collaboration, and problem solving. Next, coming to Piaget's theory of constructivism, which says that learning is constructed, it is not transmitted, and that learners actually play a very active role in the learning process. So to foster the construction of knowledge, the learning environment should provide ample scope to the learner to investigate, manipulate, and explore. And this is what I would like to point out in this presentation. The different types of digital technology tools can provide immense possibilities to actually learn mathematics through Piaget's theory of constructivism. Now let's come to some of the cognitive aspects of technology. First of all, it makes external the intermediate products of our thinking, enables us to capture and embody thought processes in a communicable medium that can be preserved. So for example, if you are solving a problem, you have to undergo a sequence of steps before you arrive at the final solution. Technology allows us to record and keep these intermediate steps so that we can refer back to them as and when needed. There are two important terms which are used for the use of technology, and one, it says that it helps to develop and extend our thinking. And how does it do so? Firstly, it acts as an amplifier. That is, it restructures our thinking and increases the range of activities that we can perform in a limited time. For example, using a technology tool, you can quickly produce a number of graphs of different functions. You can create quickly a table of values, and all this information produced by the technology tool can be useful in helping us see different patterns or maybe come to a generalization. So as an amplifier, technology gives us access to higher level concepts. Further, it is also a reorganizer. It emphasizes processes such as search for patterns and problem solving and enables learning through exploration and discovery. And when we integrate technology in our teaching, we would have to follow a sequence which is very different from our traditional classroom teaching. Now, if we look at the recommendations made in the position paper on the teaching of mathematics of the National Curriculum Framework 2005, it says, technology can greatly aid the process of mathematical exploration, and the clever use of such aids can help engage students. In a non-threatening atmosphere, children can use calculators to study the iteration of many algebraic functions. So these are some examples which the position paper has proposed. At some point, it says that if ordinary calculators can offer such possibilities, then the potential of graphing calculators and computers for mathematical exploration is far higher. So this is a very important document which has informed teaching practices throughout the country. It has informed the writing of textbooks. And this document itself recommends that technology should be used for mathematics teaching and learning. It also says that school mathematics needs to be activity oriented. It should be accessible to all and affordable by all. And within school mathematics, there should be a great emphasis on the relevance of mathematics to real life. Then it talks about that it rather sort of emphasizes that there should be a shift from content to processes. So instead of focusing on the different topics and the content of mathematics within the curriculum, the focus should shift to formal problem solving, estimation, approximation, use of patterns, visualization, reasoning and proof, making connection, and above all, mathematical communication. And for realizing all these processes in the mathematics classroom, I feel technology can play a very significant role. Some of the important aspects of technology are that it can take over computations. So that helps to reduce the cognitive load on the learner. So for a while, you can outsource the computational aspect to a technology tool and focus more on insights and concepts. Further, technology allows the user to explore concepts numerically, graphically, symbolically, that is through multiple representations. And we will further elaborate on this in the remaining part of the video session. As I mentioned earlier, that in this session, I'll focus on the technology available for mathematics instruction. And broadly, we can classify these into the following categories. One of the categories is that of the dynamic geometry software, in short DGS. Some of the well-known dynamic geometry softwares are GeoGebra, Geometria Sketchpad, Cinderella, Dr. Geo, Geometry Explorer. In fact, there are about 70 such tools available, some of which are open source tools and others are licensed softwares. We will look at GeoGebra a little further. Then there are the computer algebra systems, or CAS, Mathematica, Maple, Derive, Sage, MATLAB, Maxima, some of the well-known ones, and some of these are also open source. Then we have spreadsheets, which are very useful for data analysis and statistics. MS Excel or LibreOffice Calc are some examples, and there are many more. And of course, there is this other range of tools, very handy tools called the graphics calculators. And many companies produce these tools, such as Casio, Texas Instruments, and there are others as well. So I will try to show some of the aspects of these tools for learning mathematics. Coming to graphic calculators, these are handheld portable devices which provide dynamic interactive working environments. They're very powerful, considering the fact that you can actually hold one of these calculators right on the palm of your hand. They can be used in the classroom and can be connected to a screen. No separate lab is required if you actually want to use graphic calculators in the classroom. So a teacher can actually distribute a set of 50 calculators to students in a big class. And at the end of the class, these can be collected back. So it's very handy, and it's in fact the fact that it is portable makes it really useful. These have very significant capabilities, such as they can manipulate graphic, symbolic, and numeric objects. One can deal with matrices, complex numbers, do symbolic differentiation, data analysis, programming, and many things are possible on these devices. Most importantly, they are cheap and far more affordable than computer software. Now, in this screen, you can see some screenshots of the graphics calculator. These two screens show that there's some computations using complex numbers, which is a topic which is usually done in the senior secondary school level. So if you enter a complex number and feed it to a variable called z, you can actually compute the cube of z, and instantly you would get the answer in the right hand side of the screen. You can compute the absolute value of z cube, then you can compute the argument of z cube, and basically this would be useful for writing the polar form of a complex number. Or if you want to do some computations in permutations and combinations, again it is a topic at the class 11 level, and it can be done very easily on the calculating aspect of this tool. So mathematical calculations are simplified, and students can work with a wide range of problems and thus develop insight. Let us look at how we can use the calculator for estimation and approximation. One important thing is that you can approach problems numerically. The graphic calculator allows the user to obtain an answer through the guess, check, and improve strategy. Let's look at an example. If we have the equation x plus 2 raised to the power x equal to 7, and we need to solve it. Now, typically, this kind of an equation is not presently dealt with in the school curriculum because the exponent has the variable x. But this can be very easily solved in the graphics calculator using the guess, check, and improve strategy. Here are the screenshots. So within the graphic mode of the calculator, we can enter the two parts of this equation. The left-hand side, x plus 2 raised to the x as one function, and the constant value z as another function. And when we plot the graphs of these two functions, we can find the point of intersection. And the x-coordinate of this point of intersection will give me the solution. Well, it will at least give me an approximate solution. So this is a graphical approach to solving the problem. Further, we can create a set of values. Now, if you put the value of x as 2, we see that 2 raised to the power 2, which is 4 plus 2 is 6. And if we put x as 3, then it is 2 cubed, which is 8 plus 3, which is 11. So the answer, the value of x should actually lie between 2 and 3. So we try to create a range of values in the table between 2 and 3, and we try to guess what the answer would be. So we search for a possible answer to this, and we again find that the solution to this equation should lie between 2.2 and 2.3. So we again create a table of values. So we can narrow down to the solution and obtain the answer through estimation and approximation. And this is one of the processes which was recommended in the position paper on teaching of mathematics, and the graphics calculator can be suitably used to encourage such mathematical tasks. It also allows and enhances visualization. So one can visually support paper pencil algebraic procedures. So one can do algebraically and support visually. For example, if one had to solve this inequality, this cubic inequality, x cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6 less than 0. Of course, it is important that the student should be able to factor this cubic into its 3 linear factors, but thereafter and obtain the solution. But it can also be obtained, one can visualize the solution by simply inputting this in the graph mode of the graphics calculator and plotting the graph of this function. Now, as we can see in this cubic function, in the interval minus infinity to 1, the graph is below the x-axis. And again, from 2 to 3, the graph is below the x-axis. So the intervals where this inequality will be satisfied is minus infinity to 1 and 2 to 3. So instantly, there's a visual there's a visualization of this algebraic process. And students can be encouraged to do the paper pencil procedures and verify them through the calculator. Now I will come to the dynamic geometry software and the kind of possibilities and affordances which are given in a dynamic geometry environment. In a dynamic geometry software, geometrical figures can be drawn, and these are dynamic, and these can be manipulated rather than static pictures on paper. Parts of a figure can be dragged in the geometry window, and its measurements will simultaneously change dynamically in an algebra window. We can observe properties which remain invariant and those which vary, and this helps us to verify properties and make conjectures. Researchers have actually described a dynamic geometry software as a microworld which provides the user rich opportunities to make and test conjectures. Let us see how. Now, let us look at one of the dynamic geometry software tools which are very popular is GeoGebra. It is an open source tool. And when you open a GeoGebra window, what you would instantly see is a graphics view and an algebra view. So an algebra window and a graphics window open up. And you can also call in a spreadsheet view. So this allows you to explore mathematical concepts graphically, symbolically in the algebra view, and numerically in the spreadsheet view. So multiple representations are possible simultaneously in a software like GeoGebra. And further we will see, so for example, if we wanted to explore the angle sum property of a triangle, it would be very simple to use the drawing tools to draw a triangle in the graphics view and observe all its components. So for example, when we draw a triangle ABC in the graphics view, the algebra view gives the coordinates of the vertices, the lengths of the three line segments, the area of the triangle, and also the angle measures. Then we can ask GeoGebra to work out the angle sum, that is the sum of the three angles A, B, and C. And we observe that it is fixed at 180. As we drag any one of the vertices, the triangle will obviously move dynamically. This is of course a static figure, but in the actual software, you can drag the vertex and the triangle would move dynamically, and simultaneously these component parts of the figure would also change dynamically. But the angle sum property would remain invariant and fixed at 180. This itself would help the student to make a conjecture that perhaps the angle sum property is that the sum of the angles of a triangle, interior angles of a triangle, is 180 degrees. So this dragging tool that is there in GeoGebra and other dynamic geometry software is actually a pedagogical tool which is conducive to mathematical reasoning, and it encourages conjecture formation. And it supports the theory of the variability principle theory of Zoltan Dines, who had said that he had proposed two variability principles. The first was a perceptual variability principle, which states that to abstract a mathematical concept effectively, one must meet it in a number of different situations to perceive its purely structural properties. So for example, if you had to, understand the concept of place value and that of exchange, one could see place value in an abacus, one could see the idea of exchange in counters or in matchsticks, bundles of matchsticks. So seeing the same concept of exchange in different mediums would help the learner abstract the idea. Then the mathematical variability principle states that as every mathematical concept involves variables, all these mathematical variables need to be varied if the full generality of the mathematical concept is to be achieved. I go back to the previous slide to explain what is this mathematical variability principle. So when we drew this triangle and we dragged the vertices, we saw that we experienced a variation of the triangle where we saw that the vertices change, the line segments change, the area changes, the angle values change. So all these are varying, but something remains invariant, and that is the sum of the three angles. So to abstract the idea of the angle sum property, one has to experience invariance through amongst variation. So amongst the variation, the continuous variation of the triangle, we experience the invariance of the angle sum property. So this is what Zoltan Dines had also talked about way back in 1963, when these tools were not there really. So discernment, that is varying and invariant. So in a DGS, it is possible to discern critical invariant properties of geometrical objects under a continuous variation of certain components of the object. So as we just saw in the earlier slide, that we may construct a triangle ABC, measure the interior angles and sum the three interior angles. And dragging any one vertex will allow us to experience variation. And the twofold interdependence of the visual consistency of the sum of the three angles equal to 180 degree will automatically come to the fore in the midst of this variation. So this interplay of the varying and the invariant actually helps us to understand and abstract mathematical concepts and make conjectures. And this is a very important critical aspect of mathematical learning. In a study conducted by Thomas Lingerford and Ghosh, 7th grade students of India and Sweden used GeoGebra to make conjectures about midpoint quadrilaterals. So they were asked to draw any general quadrilateral ABCD on the GeoGebra screens, mark the midpoints of the sides, and draw the inner quadrilateral. And then they were expected to drag one of the vertices of the outer quadrilateral and explore the properties of the inner quadrilateral. This was really an interesting study. As children dragged the vertex of the outer quadrilateral, they created different kinds of quadrilaterals. In some case, it was a rectangle. In some case, it became a parallelogram. And not only convex quadrilaterals like the ones you can see, some children actually dragged the vertices and created concave quadrilaterals. And still they found something common in all these inner quadrilaterals, which are called the midpoint quadrilaterals. In fact, the result says that whenever we join the midpoints of the four sides of any quadrilateral, the inner quadrilateral is always a parallelogram. So this exploration was done by the students. And it led to something very interesting as they actually made this conjecture and moved on and transitioned to creating a proof. So dynamic geometry software actually allows you to do make conjectures, and it motivates the need for proof. Further, it also allows you to do simple modeling problems. So, for example, in one of the classes in grade 10, they learn about quadratic equations and quadratic functions. And could be a very interesting task where you superimpose a picture. In this case, the picture of a fountain was superimposed on the coordinate axis, and the children had to guess the shape of the water spray. And what they did was they created some sliders, they input a quadratic function, and they dragged these sliders A, B, C to change the shape of this quadratic. So the function was entered in the form y is equal to A times x minus b whole square plus c. And A, B, C were varied using these sliders. So this, the parabola, this quadratic function, actually the shape kept changing as A, B, C were dragged, and finally it could fit the water spray, and they could find the equation of this, of the water spray. So these kind of simple tasks can actually bring in the relevance and beauty of mathematics right into the classroom. Spreadsheets are also very useful tools. Typically, a spreadsheet is a computer application specially designed for organization, compilation, and analysis of data. Data can be entered in cells, arranged in rows and columns of a grid. So when you open the spreadsheet document, you will see that there's a grid of rows and columns. Calculations can be performed easily as cells are updated according to formula inserted and commands used. Spreadsheets can be a very handy tool for mathematical explorations. For example, one could explore number sequences, or they can also graph these sequences, and these may lead to interesting insights. It's in fact a very handy tool for simulating experiments. For example, the throw of a coin or a pair of dice. So let's see how it actually looks on a spreadsheet. Here is a screenshot of the simulation of throws of a pair of dice. One can simulate any number of throws. The screenshot only shows up to 15. So here, the column B simulates the throw of dice 1, column C simulates the throw of dice 2. And to simulate the dice throw, the formula which was inserted in the cell is the rand between command. So rand between 1, 6 will give you an integer between 1 and 6, including 1 and 6. Because when you throw a single die, any number from 1 to 6 could turn up. And the same command is also used in column C after getting the 2. So this, for example, this pair of die throw will have 3 and 6 as its faces coming up. The next one has 5 and 6 and so on. We can compute the sum by using the sum command and actually calculate the proportion of times. Let us say, suppose we were interested to find how many times will we get a sum of 12. And we can calculate the probability of getting a sum of 12 as 0.04, which is actually very close to the theoretical probability. And this gets closer and closer to the theoretical probability as the number of throws are increased. So simulating simple experiments in a spreadsheet can actually help students visualize these ideas. I would now like to summarize by talking about the basic role of technology. First of all, technology can serve as an exploratory tool. It serves the purpose of a mathematical investigation assistant, giving students control over what they are learning. So the onus of the learning is actually in the hands of the student if they're really able to get the technology right onto their hands. It is a wonderful computational tool. It facilitates the computational process by quickly generating graphs and table of values. This helps to lighten the technical load so that the students can focus on making observations and developing insight. So instead of spending all their time in doing the calculations and procedures, they can actually focus on insights and concepts with the help of their teacher. As I had mentioned earlier, technology serves as an amplifier. It increases the range of possibilities by giving students access to higher level processes. And it does not mean that using technology will be a compromise on paper pencil skills. So it actually supports paper pencil methods. Students can do the computations manually and then verify their answers using any digital tool. And technology can therefore give meaning to their computation. So here I would like to add that using technology, one can really bring about that shift from content to processes that the position paper on teaching of mathematics was talking about. However, there are challenges of integrating technology in the classroom. Firstly, we need to transform the curriculum and the teaching learning process to integrate technology. We need to identify appropriate tasks across topics so that the technology can be meaningfully used for mathematical learning. Of course, we need to identify different types of cost-effective technology which can be deployed on a large scale. In-service teachers need to be prepared for the use of technology. Short-term courses based on technology-based pedagogy on different topics is a critical need of the hour. We need to explore alternative modes of assessment as teachers are bound by time pressure in terms of completing the syllabus. So they should not feel that the technology is burdensome. Rather, the technology should help them in transacting their lessons. Teacher education programs must prepare prospective teachers by integrating technology in their courses. There are, of course, a need of empirical studies for studying the effectiveness of various types of technology, especially mobile technology, which is really pervading all around. So to summarize, in this video session, we have discussed the importance of digital technology in mathematics education. We have looked at the learning theories and how they support the use of technology. We have looked at the characteristics of different types of digital tools, namely graphic calculators, dynamic geometry software, and spreadsheets. And finally, we have explored the role of technology in mathematics education, as well as recognized that some of the challenges of integrating technology. Here are some of the readings I would suggest you could go through for your further reading on this topic. And with this, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much for your patient listening. I do hope you found this video useful. Thank you.